There are a mother and daughter who are basically protesting a natural gas pipeline in Roanoke, Virginia, and they have been protesting for days, basically sitting in a tree on their property because the natural gas pipeline is going through their property. And of course, because they are sitting in a tree blocking the pipeline, they're being treated like crap by the government and corporations. Let me read you this story first. So, Virginia governor says tree sitters pipeline protest is unlawful, cites health concern. So that Virginia governor, that progressive titan, Governor Ralph Northam, who was recently elected, thanks to a lot of money from the Democratic Party, he's an establishment Democrat, he said, this article isn't recent, this was last week, he said Wednesday that it's unlawful for a mother and a daughter to sit in trees and block a natural gas pipeline across their property outside Roanoke, and that he's particularly worried about the older woman's health. Remember that. So Virginia Governor Ralph Northam is saying it's unlawful for a mother and daughter to sit up in the trees and block a natural gas pipeline that is going through their property. So that's the older mother, and the daughter is protesting in a tree nearby. Teresa Red Terry, 61, and daughter Teresa Minor Terry have been on wooden platforms in trees on Bent Mountain since April 2nd, preventing workers for the Mountain Valley Pipeline from clearing trees on a path through their land. And by the way, this is happening in many places around the country. I interviewed somebody from a forest defense camp in Pennsylvania, where they're putting a pipeline through this woman's property in Pennsylvania, the Mariner East 2 pipeline. And there's been a camp of basically water protectors, basically standing their ground in a forest for 2 years. But while nobody was outside defending the forest one morning, they came in and cut the trees down on this woman's property. I interviewed that woman a couple weeks ago. Now we see in Roanoke, Virginia, that you have a mother and a daughter standing up for their property and the planet. So the mother has been in a tree, the daughter has been in a separate tree, and they are trying to stop this natural gas pipeline from going through their property. The Virginia governor said it's unlawful. Well, Roanoke County Police have prohibited supporters from delivering food and water to the woman for nearly 2 weeks. She's 61, mind you. On Sunday, the day a story about the woman's crusade ran in the Washington Post, crusade they call it. This is from the Washington Post that I'm reading. The woman's crusade, yes. Such a crusade to try and stop them from going through your property with a natural gas pipeline that if it explodes will actually put your lives in jeopardy as well as the planet in jeopardy. Officials gave the woman pizza and bologna sandwiches. They have not, however, fulfilled Red Terry's request for cigarettes. Northam had not previously criticized the women for their stand, but on Wednesday called it unfortunate. I want them to be safe, and so we want to make sure that they have food and water, he said in a Facebook Live interview at the WTOP FM radio station. The one that's up in one of the trees referred to as Red has been asking for cigarettes. I worry about her health. She's 61 years old. She's up in the weather. She's smoking cigarettes, said Northam, a pediatric neurologist. So here you have the governor stressing her health. This is going to be important because there's a new development in the story. Quote, the First Amendment is important, but also the safety of individuals in Virginia is important. So we hope that there's going to be a resolution to this in the near future, he said. A spokesperson said later that Northam is not ordering any action on the part of the state police, who are supporting local police round the clock at the base of the trees. Well, what is there an army of police at the bottom of the trees? What do you think? This mother, this 61-year-old at the top of the tree, and her daughter at a separate tree is like a great risk to public health? No. The problem is, because it's always about the money, baby. It's always about the money. It's always about the oil companies. The problem is this older mother, this daughter, They are blocking the oil pipeline. They are blocking the money. They are blocking the fossil fuels. So this governor is not concerned about their health. Give me a break. They're not concerned about their First Amendment rights. They're certainly not concerned that they are literally just seizing these people's land to put through a natural gas pipeline. As I covered when I was at the Young Turks, I covered in Texas, there was a natural gas pipeline called the Trans-Pecos pipeline. They were digging up conservative, cowboy-wearing hat conservatives who, well, the woman told me she loved Dick Cheney and voted for George Bush twice. They were digging up their homes using eminent domain to put a natural gas pipeline. I remember interviewing a conservative woman on her ranch. Literally, the pipeline was 400 yards from her window. If it explodes, goodbye to that woman. She's dead. Her family is dead. Hate to fearmonger, but that's the truth. If there's an explosion 400 yards from your window. So let's continue reading on this particular protest here. A spokesperson said later that Northam is not ordering any action on the part of the state police, who are supporting local police round the clock at the base of the trees because they're so dangerous, this mother and daughter. Roanoke County Police said they will continue to keep supporters away for safety reasons. Right, safety reasons. With the platforms hanging more than 30 feet above. They said Sunday was the first time the woman had complained of being out of basic necessities. Roanoke County will provide protesters with what is needed to ensure their physical needs are met. Public Information Officer Amy Whitaker said in a prepared statement. The women are now being given 3 bags of food per day, generally sandwiches and fruit. So I'm highlighting this part because what I'm about to show you is they are breaking this agreement. Roanoke County will provide protesters with what is needed to ensure their physical needs are met. Public Information Officer Amy Whitaker said in a prepared statement. The women are now being given 3 bags of food per day, generally sandwiches and fruit. Tree sitters are also protesting the pipeline at least 2 other locations, though one came down from a tree in the Jefferson National Forest earlier this week. And as a reminder, this is the Mountain Valley pipeline that is going through parts of Virginia. This is Roanoke. It's a natural gas pipeline. So here you have it. They say Roanoke County will provide the protesters with what is needed to ensure their physical needs are met. So obviously, they broke that a week later. Here's the latest. Local doctors turned away from pipeline protesters. 2 Charlottesville doctors seeking to help a 61-year-old woman who has spent 4 weeks, God bless this woman, 4 weeks perched in a tree to halt construction of the Mountain Valley Pipeline, says Roanoke County authorities did not permit them to provide her with medical supplies on Saturday. But what happened? What happened here? I thought, quote, Roanoke County will provide protesters with what is needed to ensure their physical needs are met. This is a 61-year-old woman up in a tree for 4 weeks, and it's not exactly like scorching hot summer yet. It's cold. It's cold up there. Well, 2 Charlottesville doctors seeking to help a 60-year-old woman who has spent 4 weeks perched in a tree to halt construction of the Mountain Valley Pipeline, says Roanoke County authorities did not permit them to provide her with medical supplies on Saturday. With a hearing in federal court scheduled for Tuesday afternoon, so that would be today. Today is Tuesday. I'll have to get an update on what happened there. The family of Teresa Red Terry and her daughter Teresa Minor Terry are anxiously waiting for a resolution to the ongoing standoff on properties that have been owned by their family for 7 generations. In an interview Monday, Dr. Greg Gelberd of Downtown Family Healthcare said he and Dr. Paige Perriello with Pediatric Associates of Charlottesville visited Bent Mountain in Roanoke County over the weekend to assess the mother and daughter's medical condition. Perriello, who is also the sister of former gubernatorial candidate and Representative Tom Perriello, said she was unavailable for an interview Monday, but Gelberd described the incident and medical risks for the 2 protesters. From behind police tape, away from the tree, Perriello and Gelberd shouted toward Red Terry to obtain information about her condition and provide medical advice, he said. Quote, "We determined that she seemed to be in good spirits and seemed to be okay medically. I encouraged her to stand up and take the tarp off the roof of the tree. Stand to get some sunshine, he said. Quote, her husband attempted to give the skin cream and vitamins that we brought to the troopers, but they refused as well. So let's paint a picture here. Here's the tree. Here's the tree. And they're not letting medical supplies or even a doctor to come close enough to examine her. Yeah, so you see, that's the tree up there, and here's the yellow tape. So they're not even letting the doctors close enough. I mean, I don't know how the doctors would climb up there. I can't see that closely. But basically, as the doctors here said, seeking to help them, they didn't permit them to provide her with the medical supplies. Well, what if she has high blood pressure? What if she has a heart attack? What if she has a stroke? Well, I mean, what if? I'm not trying to fearmonger, but she's not 22, she's 61, and it's cold. Gelbard said being overly sedentary poses a health risk as blood clots can form in the legs. He also said prolonged exposure to damp conditions can increase the risk of skin infections. After the mother and daughter pair recently said they had run out of food and other supplies, Roanoke County officials announced last week that authorities are conducting daily wellness checks and providing them with what they need to ensure their physical needs are met. Well, how are you doing that if you're not providing them medical supplies? That doesn't make sense. How are you allowing them for their public health to be met if you're not providing them medical care or you're not even letting the doctors up close? Something's wrong in that picture, folks. Something's wrong. Several Republicans and Democrats, including Senator Tim Kaine, who's taken a hell of a lot of money from fossil fuels and oil and gas, and Congressman Morgan Griffith, have weighed in on the controversy surrounding the pipelines, calling on regulators to halt the projects to reassess the potential harm to the environment and the local water supply for communities in the pipeline's paths. Oh, Tim Kaine calls for them to halt the pipelines. And why does he take so much money from big oil? The Democrats always give you a little lip service. Oh, we think these are bad things, or we want you to halt the pipeline. But then, out of one breath, they say that. Out of the next, they say, oh, big oil money? Please give it to me. Please give it to me. I won't do anything of substance to stop your fucking planet-destroying projects. On Monday, the Washington Post published an opinion piece co-authored by Tom Perriello, in which he and Tom Cormans, executive director of the nonprofit Appalachian Voices, called on Governor Ralph Northam to halt the project. so that state regulators can assess the project per a state bill Northam signed into law earlier this year. I will not hold my breath. And by the way, Governor Ralph Northam of Virginia was just elected in December. You know, part of that progressive Tom Perez and the DNC, they put a lot of money into Virginia so Democrats can retake Virginia. Well, he's allowing police to deny medical supplies and food to people exercising their First Amendment. This is a Democrat. A Democrat is allowing the police in his state to deny public health supplies to women who, you know, they call, the Washington Post phrased it a crusade. They're sitting in a tree on their own property. It's their property that you are putting this natural gas pipeline through, not putting, you're stealing their land through eminent domain. And by the way, this is a big story that doesn't get covered. Conservatives and progressive environmental activists are meeting in the middle. They're against these pipelines for different reasons. One, because, you know, conservatives only care if something affects them. Conservatives only care about something when it affects them. So conservatives are pissed off through eminent domain. And by the way, there's a lot of progressives that are pissed off through eminent domain because both progressives, conservatives, and marshmallows are having their land stolen so that we could basically destroy the planet and destroy the country. Also, we could pay back our big oil donors. That's what's going on here. It's disgusting. So what can you do? What can you do? I don't know if it will work, but DEQ, so the Department of Environmental Quality in Virginia, invites more public comments on Mountain Valley Pipeline. Here, you could do it through May 30th. Through May 30th. Here you go. Here's the email. It's quite a lot. Public comments if you want to stop this pipeline. There's the address to do it.